Hey friends, it's Dimitri with Rubashka Streetwear. So we are continuing on the How to Start Clothing Brand series. And in this episode, I'm going to be talking about how to create a logo, part one. I had to split this into two parts because this topic is really dense, it's really important, and I didn't want to cram everything into just one video. Otherwise, it'd be like probably half an hour long. So I hope you guys appreciate that it's getting split. Today I'm going to be talking about why you need to make a logo, why you should create a logo, when and how to exactly do that, and mistakes to avoid from my own experience and my own understandings and readings on that. The next video will be more about the technical things about logos, like what kinds of logos there are, how I kind of went about making mine, and other thoughts and advice for that. But this one is just getting the structure down. So the first part of this is why. Why do you need a logo? And you need a logo because you are developing a brand and not necessarily a business. What do I mean by that? That sounds weird, doesn't it? So yes, your brand that you're creating is going to be a business, and it is a business. That's true. But not all businesses are necessarily like a sort of brand in itself. So what I mean by that is, I'll give you a funny example. Let's say that I'm in a restaurant and I pick up a napkin and I wipe my face with it and then I throw it away. Did I pick up that napkin because of its brand necessarily, or did I pick it because of its utility? So yes, I picked it up because of its utility. I don't give a crap about the brand of the napkin. I don't care about that at all. I just want it to serve its purpose. There are lots of businesses that manufacture products and the like just to fulfill utility needs. They are not really revolving their whole business and ethos around a brand. Those types of businesses, they might be making millions or even billions of dollars, and they might have their brand and their logo and business name. It's just Times New Roman and it just says their business name, and that's it. That's their logo. No one cares about that. They want to do business with that business because they're creating products that serve a utility and that accomplish a simple goal, and they have recognition and experience for that, and that's all they're doing. They don't need to have a brand and a logo plastered all over their items that they're selling, and that's not important. But because you are creating a clothing brand specifically for these types of videos, we're talking about streetwear brands, this is super important. This is kind of like maybe one of the most important things in this video is this point of brand. That's what you're creating. And with that, the logo is basically an integral part of your brand. Logo is integral. The reason why is because your logo is going to be basically a pillar of merchandise. A lot of clothing brands, specifically streetwear brands, they are going to put their logo on their clothing and sell it, and that's going to be the selling point for the type of clothing that they're selling. Like for instance, this hoodie. This is a great hoodie. It keeps me warm. People love this hoodie, this specific blank, but they're not really buying the hoodie. They're buying the logo. They're buying the brand. That's what they're buying, because they could buy this hoodie blank online elsewhere, and they could wear that and it could be a blank black hoodie, but that's not what people are buying. That's why creating a good logo is very integral to your brand, and it's going to be a pillar of your merchandise. I sell stuff with my brand logo every day. I'm selling hoodies, hats, t-shirts with just the brand logo, whether that's screen printed or embroidered, or it's small or it's large, or it's on the back, or it's on a hat, or it's on the sticker. It's everywhere. That's why people are buying it. They're buying it for the logo, they're buying it for the brand, and that logo and that brand is memorable. That is something that is important. If you are making a clothing brand, you want to make a logo that's memorable, and that they have certain emotions and imagery and thoughts that come up when they think of and when they see your logo. I'll give you a perfect example of this. When I see the Nike logo specifically the swoosh, I instantly think of sports, I think of athletics, I think of basketball. Their logo is so powerful that their logo has like a sound to it, swoosh, right? Like Nike swoosh. And they have a word mark and like an icon with it. So it's like a hybrid. I'll discuss that in the second video. But anyways, their logo is so powerful. It even has sounds that are being conveyed in the person's head. So that's what you really, really want to focus on is having your logo paired up well with your brand, and people are getting certain memories and thoughts from it. Now we're going to go on to when and how you should do this. So for the when, it's immediately when you are first starting your clothing brand and you're formulating stuff, and like I said in the previous videos, brainstorming, that kind of stuff, the logo should be floating around your head. You should be thinking of ideas for that. This should be very, very early on in your clothing brand that you should be doing this. You should not hold off on it. So don't hold off. And obviously, our reason not to hold off on it is because let's say that you're making a streetwear brand, and for your first release, you have a cool t-shirt with a really cool design, and then you have like a hat, and then you have another t-shirt with your logo on it because people are buying into the brand. How are you supposed to sell merchandise if you don't have a logo and you can't put your logo on the merchandise, right? That's why it's super important to do it immediately and get that really honed down, narrowed down, and solidified, because the logo is a pillar and a huge part of the foundation of your brand. How are you supposed to do that? Well, the first way is by yourself. Some of you that are watching these videos might be artistically gifted, inclined. You might know design well enough to make a logo. There's a caveat to that. Some of you also think you know art and design, but you don't really. And maybe people have not been honest in your life about that. Maybe they're just like, oh, that looks great, and you've gotten that your whole life, and it's just really not that good. And it's not anything against you or other people. Like, for instance, yes, I do have design skills and art skills, but even myself, I know that I have limits and barriers to my design knowledge and skills and art skills. Like, I can't create everything. If someone gave me a paintbrush and said, go paint something on this canvas, it would probably not be the best artwork, to be honest. That's not my skill set and my forte. Some of you that are like artsy and stuff like that, you might think that you are all that in a bag of chips and that you can make the best logos and best designs, but they're not really that good. And people need to be honest with you. You need to be honest with yourself. Otherwise, you'll make a lot of expensive mistakes. You might print like 100 t-shirts and they're just not that good, and the logo's not that good, and then they don't get sold, right? So be honest with yourself. If you are inclined towards art and they are actually good, and you've even had people that are designers like approve of your work or be like, hey, this is really good, like this is like an A-, maybe change this a little bit, maybe do this, that is a good indication that you are on the right path and that you can design this logo by yourself. Typically when you are designing the logo, this is just another little tidbit, you will use stuff like Photoshop or Adobe Illustrator. That's kind of the technical things of how you will do it, but maybe I'll go more in depth about that in the second video. If you are not artistically inclined or you don't know design, your next best bet is a friend. A friend that is artistically inclined and they know design. You might have a friend that's in college and they're in a design program, and you're like, hey, I'm starting a brand, can I pay you to like make me a logo? And they'd be like, sure, here's my price. Or maybe they're just like super pumped for you and they want to help you and they even do it for free. So these first two options, they're well, this one obviously is free, you're doing it yourself. This one's very low cost, or it could be free itself if you have a very nice friend. Now the next option for that is colleges or freelancers. Again, be honest with yourself. Can you design the logo or not? Will it be memorable? If you can't, you need to start going down this list and figuring out what you can do. So in colleges, there are a lot of design students, like in design programs. They are hungry, they're eating top ramen, and they're bored and they need work. So you just found a gold mine. A lot of them also, maybe not all of them, but there's a good chunk, like you can find a handful that are actually like really good. Like they're like out of college, they'll be hired right away by like a top design agency. When I was in college, I went to the design program, so that's my like, I have design experience. Obviously, I was formally trained. When I was in college, I knew two guys that could create like a good logo, like a really good logo, like a Twitter kind of logo. You know, the tweeting bird. That's a definition of a good logo that's memorable, simple, and easy. One of my friends, he was definitely at that type of level, and I saw like the theory and stuff he put behind his work. I'm like, dang man, like if I needed a logo, I'd hire you. Another guy I knew, he was not formally trained, but he was very talented and gifted, and he knew what he was doing. He was basically trained. He trained himself, and he created so many great logos that I see even today. I see them floating around in businesses. So that is definitely an option. And this might be kind of what you guys specifically are going to go off on. Now, I am going to throw out one more thing for the how, and that is an agency. Oh, sorry, I missed the freelancer. A freelancer is basically a stranger. Well, yeah, they're a stranger, but like you will find them on websites like Fiverr. I don't know exactly the skill levels in that. I'm pretty sure you can find someone that on Fiverr that has a high skill level, but they might cost more. You're going to be basically sourcing people online that design logos, and they work for themselves, and it's typically cheaper than an agency. So that's another option, definitely. Agency, this is like, okay, you are Donald Trump. You're Barron Trump, Donald Trump's son, and you are starting a streetwear brand, and Donald Trump's gonna give you a small loan of $1 million. Like, here you go, son, go start a streetwear brand. If someone gave me that money, I'd be like, all right, I'm gonna go to agency, and they are gonna create the best logo for my streetwear brand, and it's gonna be recognizable and famous after my brand gets rolling, right? So this one is obviously the most expensive, but they are for sure like going to create like a top level logo that's going to be famous, and obviously huge brands use agencies to design their logos. But that is kind of going to go on to the mistakes to avoid, and that could be a big mistake. Don't waste too much money on this. So what do I mean by that? You could very well be designing a logo that's a word mark. I'll explain that more in the second video. This is a word mark. This does not, I don't need an agency for this. I didn't even invest like a crazy amount of time into that. Your logo can be as simple as a nice clean font, and it's, spaced well and all that kind of stuff. And you don't like, imagine if I paid someone $2,000 to design this. That's a huge dent in starting a business. You don't need that, right? I made this by myself for free. I sell lots of t-shirts and hoodies every day with this logo on it. It was simple, fast, and cheap. So have an appropriate budget for your logo, but make sure that budget correlates with quality. That's important. Correlate with quality. So, I mean, you could spend like, I don't know, $50 and your logo can be crap, and you already started off on the wrong footing, and your foundation for your brand is already weak, right? So that's a mistake. Spending too little on something that's crap, or you yourself are not inclined towards design, that's a mistake to avoid. But also spending too much is something to avoid. Another mistake to avoid is creating the wrong logo. What do I mean by that? This is a mistake I made. So I say in a perfect world, you want to make this a one-shot, one-time deal if possible. Maybe two, but create a good logo and it's a one-time deal and that's it. When I started my brand, I made a logo that was different than this. That was actually stylistically and design-wise, it was not as good, but it was definitely on a level of good. The logo looked really good. It was very clean. I got lots of compliments on it. People to this day still like it. Some people are like, oh, I like that logo more than this one. I will explain more in depth about this logo on the next video, and why I went with this rather than the other one. But I did have for about a year, maybe, yeah, like almost a year, half a year, I did have a different logo. I made a shirt. My first shirt was with that logo. I made a little bit of stickers with that logo, but I didn't really make as many other t-shirts and other stuff. I didn't invest too much in, when I was trying the brand, I didn't really like start off on the strongest foot. I was kind of struggling at first. So I didn't really get too invested monetarily into that logo. But if you do create the wrong logo, and let's say you have your brand for a year or two with that logo, I mean, you already have tons of, you're probably going to have unsold merch of that logo. It's going to be on a neckline. It's going to be on your website. It's going to be on your letterhead. It's going to be on business cards if you have that. It's going to be on stickers. It's going to be everywhere. You might even have like a sign on your warehouse that you paid and made all that kind of stuff. You just invested a lot of time and money into that logo, and now you have to go back and redo all of that. So basically, you might be spending 2x the dollars for the logo, right? Because you're spending for the first logo, and then you're spending for the next logo that you have to make to cover that, right? And you have to go back and redo all your systems and all the stuff that has your logo, right? And let's say that you had like, I don't know, 10,000 stickers of your logo, and now you made a new one. Well, what are you going to do with those stickers? You're going to have to throw them away, or you give them out for free. That's kind of weird, you know? So really make sure you got to like think it through. Think it through. And that's kind of weird to write it under the void. But let's just say that's its own little thing. Make sure you really think your logo through, you know? You don't want to have in your mind that there's a redo, right? There can be a redo, and that's kind of a caveat to this. So let's say that you're not listening to any of this advice. You start a brand, the logo is, it's kind of like, but your brand kicks off really well. You start getting lots of traction, you're getting sales, you grow, you move into a new place, you're doing all that, and it's been 2 or 3 years. But then you're at a level where you're like, okay, I need to reorient this brand a little bit. It needs to be better because the brand will grow and I'll make more sales and be more memorable, right? Maybe you're watching this video and you're actually thinking of redoing your logo. There is a time and place for that. And oftentimes brands will have a redo a few times in their lifetime. This is kind of like decades on. So like I said, your brand might start and you might get everything going, but then it's like, you know what, I need to really like refresh it. It needs a refresh, it needs a redo. Maybe that's 5 years down the road, maybe that's 10 years down the road. Every 10 to 20 years, it's appropriate for a brand to have a refresh and have a new logo and keep up with the trends and have something that's memorable. There's obviously brands like Coca-Cola where if they redid their logo, that would be brand suicide. That would be stupid for them to redo that, right? So don't do that if your logo is good. If your logo is really good, just stick with it. Don't be dumb. But yeah, there is a time and place to do that. Typically, I would say at the end of the year into the beginning of the year, that's a great time to have a kind of relaunch, have a refresh, new website, new logo, new shipping options, new everything, new colors, like make your brand really solidify, really like powerful. So that's a time and place to do that. But I hope this kind of stirs your brain into thinking about how you're going to be able to do this, why you should do it. This is like the biggest thing for this entire video. Why you need a logo is because you are developing a brand and not necessarily just a business. When and how, immediately do it yourself if you are inclined, or get a friend or a college student to do it for you, and you can definitely create a good logo like this. It's possible. People do it all the time. And then obviously, don't spend too much money, don't spend too little money, and don't redo your logo. Make sure you do it right the first time. If you do all this stuff, I think you guys will be on a good footing to create a good logo. Now, in the second video that will come after this, I will talk about more technical aspects of the logo, how I created mine, some theories behind it, and we're going to talk about different kinds of logos and why you might choose a certain type of logo over another logo. So anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below in the comment section. If you got value of this video, leave me a thumbs up because that helps the algorithm, and I'll catch you guys later. Thanks.